Welcome everyone to Chapter 7. In this lesson, we will learn one of the most important topics in Central Service point of views preparation and transport of contaminated instruments. Many students think decontamination starts in the CSSD department, but that's not true. It actually begins immediately after the instrument is used on the patient. If the instruments are handled incorrectly at the point of use, they may become difficult to clean, develop biofilm, get damaged, or even increase the risk of infection. By the end of this chapter, you will understand exactly how contaminated instruments should be prepared, handled, and safely transported to the decontamination area according to CRCST standards. Before we begin, let's understand what we are going to learn. We will start by understanding where contaminated instruments come from. Next, we will learn why preparation begins immediately after a procedure. Then we will discuss the four main goals of transporting contaminated items. Finally, we will cover transport safety, infection prevention, and the responsibilities of everyone involving in handling contaminated instruments. Let's follow the journey of a reusable instrument. After it is used during a procedure, the instrument becomes contaminated with blood, tissue, body fluids, or other organic materials. The very first step is point of use preparation. After proper preparation, the instrument is transported safely to the CSST decontamination area. Only then does the complete cleaning, inspection, packaging, sterilization, and storage process begin. Remember, decontamination starts at the point of use, not inside the decontamination area. Point of use preparation simply means taking care of instruments immediately after they have been used. The goal is not to completely clean them in the operating room. Instead, we remove gross soil, keep the instruments moist, protect delicate parts, and prepare them for safe transport to CSSD. This simple step makes the entire cleaning process much more effective. Remember, preparation begins immediately after the procedure, not hours later. Every contaminated instrument must be transported with four goals in mind. First, remove visible contamination such as blood, tissue, and body fat. Second, prevent instruments from becoming damaged while being transported. Third, prevent contamination from spreading into hallways or patient care areas. Finally, protect everyone who may come into contact with these contaminated items, including healthcare workers, patients, and visitors. Gross soil refers to any visible contamination left on an instrument after use. Examples include blood, tissue, fat, and other body substances. Removing gross soil immediately makes cleaning much easier later. If these materials dry on the instrument, they become much harder to remove and may even damage the instrument surface. Although contaminated instruments come from many departments, the operating room produces the greatest number. Other important sources include labor and delivery, emergency, endoscopy, cardiac care, and procedure based departments. Because of this, many hospitals locate the CSSD decontamination area close to the operating room to reduce transport time. Not every contaminated instrument is transported immediately. Many departments keep used instruments in a designated holding area until CSST technicians collect them. This area must be clearly marked with biohazard signs and should only be accessible to authorized personnel. Proper storage helps prevent accidental exposure and keeps the hospital environment safe. Point of use preparation has several important benefits. It protects the instrument surface from damage caused by blood and saline. It prevents soil from drying, which makes cleaning much easier. Most importantly, it reduces the formation of biofilm, a sticky layer of microorganisms that is very difficult to remove. Good preparation saves time, protects expensive instruments, and supports effective decontamination. Biofilm is one of the biggest challenges in decontamination. When blood and moisture remain on an instrument for too long, microorganisms can attach to the surface and produce a protective layer called biofilm. This layer makes microorganisms much harder to remove the detergents and disinfectants. That's why point of use preparation is so important. Keeping instruments properly prepared and promptly transported greatly reduces the chance of biofilm formation. So, keeping instruments moist help prevent soil from drying, but instruments should not be left soaking for long periods because prolonged soaking can damage their surfaces. Now we move into the actual step by step preparation of instruments at the point of use. Immediately after the procedure, we must act fast. First, remove visible gross soil. Then keep instruments moist so that the blood and body fluids do not dry. All hinged instruments must be opened so cleaning can reach all surfaces. Shafts must be separated carefully to prevent injuries. Disposable items must be removed and reusable sets must always stay together. This is the foundation of safe decontamination. Sharps are one of the highest risk items in decontamination. They include scalpels, needles, scissors, and other cutting instruments. These must always be placed in a puncture resistant container labeled biohazard. Never mix sharps with regular instruments. Most importantly, avoid direct handling to prevent injury and infection exposure. Reusable linen must be carefully separated from instruments at the point of use. This prevents small instruments from being accidentally discarded with linen. It also reduces contamination risk and makes processing faster and more organized in CSSD. Disposable items must be removed from instrument sets before transport. However, staff must be very careful not to accidentally discard reusable components. Following proper hospital waste segregation policies is essential. One of the most important steps is keeping instruments moist. This can be done using a damp towel, foam sprays, or approved enzymatic products. The goal is to prevent blood and soil from drying. Dry soil is the enemy of cleaning and leads to biofilm formation. Although moisture is important, oversoaking instruments is dangerous. Leaving instruments in chemical solutions for too long can damage their surface and cause corrosion. So the rule is simple. Keep moist but do not soak for long period. If a case involves suspected or confirmed CJD, special precautions must be taken. CSSD and the infection control must be notified immediately. These instruments require special handling and strict containment because standard cleaning and sterilization may not be effective. CJD instruments require special handling due to extreme resistance to standard sterilization. If any instrument is damaged or not working properly, It must be tagged for repair. These items should be separated from active sets and clearly identified. This ensures safety and prevent delays in the future procedures. Instrument sets must always remain together. Separating them leads to missing components, delays in assembly, and workflow problems in CSSD. Proper organization ensures efficiency and patient safety. Point of use preparation is not optional, it's an essential. It protects instruments, reduces infection risks, improves cleaning efficiency, and prevents biofilm formation. The earlier preparation begins, the easier and more effective the entire decontamination process becomes. Once instruments have been prepared at the point of use, they must be transported safely to the CSST decontamination area. The main goal is to prevent microorganisms from spreading through the hospital. Every contaminated instrument should remain contained until it reaches the decontamination area. Think of transport as a bridge between patient care and instrument processing. The safest method of transporting instruments is a fully enclosed transport cart. If a hospital uses an open cart, it must have a solid bottom shelf and completely covered during transport. Small instrument loads may be transported in delicate biohazard containers or clearly labeled biohazard bags. Closed carts are always the preferred transport method. Proper loading of transport carts is extremely important. Heavy instrument sets should always be placed on the bottom, lighter trays go on top. Everything should be positioned securely so nothing slides, falls, or becomes damaged during transport. One of the biggest mistakes is transporting clean and contaminated items together. This completely defeats the purpose of sterilization. Always keep dirty, clean, and sterile items physically separated. Transport carts should always remain under the control of the technician. Move at a safe speed and pay close attention at hallway, intersections, and doorways. Never leave contaminated carts unattended. Most importantly, always give priority to patients and visitors. Whenever handling contaminated instruments, appropriate PPE must be worn. Gloves are the minimum requirement. If splashes or aerosols are possible, eye protection masks and gowns should be also used. After handling contaminated items, remove gloves correctly and perform hand hygiene immediately. Some hospitals send contaminated instruments to another processing center. In these cases, instruments must be securely packaged and transported according to local regulations. They should be protected from movement during transportation to prevent damage. Safe transport is everyone's responsibility, not only CSST technicians, but also operating room staff, transport workers, and environmental service personnel must receive proper training. Good education reduces injuries, prevents contamination, and protects patients. Congratulations! You have successfully completed Chapter 7. Today, you have learned that decontamination begins immediately after instrument use, not inside the CSSD. Proper point of use preparation protects instruments, reduces biofilm formation, prevents cross contamination, and makes cleaning much more effective. You also learn the correct method for transporting contaminated instruments safely, using proper PPE, preventing injuries, and maintaining patient safety. Always remember the point memory trick. Prepare immediately, open instruments, isolate sharps, never let soil dry, and transport safely. Master these principles and you will not only perform better in CSSD and hard exam, but you will also become a safer and more effective CS professional. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next chapter.